Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today's topic are the missing Elector counts for the Empire of Man and the possible mechanics that may come with them. So without further ado, let's begin. An Elector count is the highest noble rank in the Empire, second only to the Emperor himself. Being an Elector count brings power to the people who hold the title. Not only does it give them political control over their own province, they are also allowed to vote for and gain the chance of becoming a new emperor with the death or the abdication of the incumbent. The title also comes with certain demands. In addition to upholding a strong economy and solving political debates in his province, an Elector count is also required to protect his subjects from attacks. As a result of this, most counts are also experienced generals, but those who are not delegate this duty to other aspiring nobles. Each Elector count rules from his or her province, and now while the Empire is itself a united front, in most cases at the very least, each of their respective peoples vary drastically, with their own culture, traditions, and so on. Which is why many people want to see the various different Elector counts turned into playable legendary lords with their respective provinces. Before we begin, it is important to note that there is only one fully unique playable legendary lord as an Elector count, that of Karl Franz, the current reigning emperor. Balthasar Gelt in Warhammer Fantasy canon is not an official Elector count, he is only the supreme patriarch of the Imperial Colleges of Magic, and the province he currently rules over, that of Solent, was destroyed long ago. Also, whilst Boris Todd is in-game with a unique model, he is not currently playable as a starting lord with his own unique faction, traits and so on, so he doesn't really count here. But without wasting any more time, let's start looking at the missing Elector counts. First, we have Marius LightDorf, the Elector Count of Averland. Renowned as the Mad Count, Marius LightDorf's reputation has spread far across the Old World. Most knew Marius for his eccentricities, his bouts of screaming rage, his periods of melancholy, and his mercurial conduct at court. Marius's reputation did him a gross disservice, for while he was clearly unconventional in his manners and flamboyant in his clothing, he had an incisive mind, being an accomplished poet and inventor of some standing. Furthermore, Lightdorf was an exceptional swordsman and military tactician who led his armies with considerable flair and skill. In fact, a number of great victories are owed to his insane courage and uncanny insights. On the tabletop, Marius was a fairly decent close combat character, more of a duelist than anything else, fighting with paired weapons, only having one special rule known as the Mad Count, which went as follows. At the start of every friendly turn, Marius LightDorf must take a leadership test on 3d6, discarding the lowest result. If passed, he behaves himself and acts normally this turn, otherwise roll a d6 and consult the table below. On a 1 he would be subject to lunatic ravings, which would give him the stupidity rule for 1 turn. On a 2 he would get berserker rage, which would give him the frenzy special rule. On a roll of a 3 he would have paranoid delusions, which would make him attack the closest friendly model. On a 4, Tactical Brilliance, where all units within 12 inches of him could make a reform. On a 5, Outrageous Insults, where the closest enemy would have the special rule Hatred Marius LightDorf. And on a 6, he would have Insane Bravado, which would mean that he would have the Stubborn special rule, but must also accept any challenges issued against him. While these mechanics do sound a bit difficult to translate, these mechanics do sound very familiar, don't they? Marius LightDorf would have very similar mechanics to that of Luther Harken and his fractured mind. So every few turns, an event would pop up which would determine how collected Marius is that day. Next we have Aldebrand Luton Hoth, Grand Baron of Hochland, Marshal of the Talib Reach, Defender of the Shrines, Baron of Hertwig, and Elector Count of the Grand Province of Hochland. Although Hochland is not an especially large or important province, its count is one of the most valiant leaders in the Empire. Aldebrand is very tall and thin, but immensely strong and fit, making him a match for larger, heavier opponents in combat. He has an unquenchable enthusiasm for hunting, especially hawking. Aldebrand's palace lies outside the capital of Hertwig, surrounded by prime hunting estates. He is especially proud of his large collection of hunting birds, which occupies a substantial mews and tends to spill out into the palace itself, so that every room has at least one large bird of prey on its perch. Even in battle, the Count carries a hawk upon his arm. On the tabletop, he was a fairly decent melee lord, as can be expected from any Elector count that had a model. Other than that, he was a very standard general, barring his one special rule known as Hawk. As can be expected, he carried a hawk into battle. This gave him 1 extra attack, which was of a lower strength, but still it was an extra attack. In all honesty, the best way to implement this character would be with the addition of hunting animals, so hawks and dogs, just to represent his favourite pastime. Next we have Boris Todd, Graf of Middenheim, Grand Duke of Middenland, Prince of Karaberg, Protector of the Drakworld, Warden of the Middle Mountains, and beloved of Ulrich. Boris is the Elector Count of the Grand Province of Middenland. Boris is one of the most ferocious warriors in the Empire, and the province of Middenland is one of the most powerful and independent of the imperial states. He lost his right eye when fighting against the Chaos Warbands in the Drakworld forests. As the Count of Middenland, he is a fervent devotee of the cult of Ulrich, whose chief temple is situated in Middenheim. This man was almost once emperor, losing to Karl Franz by just a few votes. On the tabletop, Boris was a decent melee lord. His only special rule, that of Elector Count of Middenland, is pointless to add in as it's already available in-game. This allowed him to have his generic units take magical banners, but we already have that in Total War Warhammer. We already know that Boris is one day going to become a fully unique playable legendary lord. This was confirmed by Creative Assembly, so I don't think we need to spend too much time on him, so let's start moving on. Next we have Theoderic Gousa, Grand Baron of Nordland, Prince of Zalzenmund, Lord of Lorelorn, Duke of Marienburg, that's highly contested, and Terror of the Norskans. He is the Elector Count of Nordland. Theoderic and the Nordlanders are known for their lust for battle. Many other Imperials do liken them to the men of Norska, and in truth there is very little difference between them as their blood has been mixed. Obviously, Theoderic has always wanted to change this stereotype, but to no avail. In truth, most other noblemen see him to be the most like the Northmen, seeing as he's always campaigning, hunting beastmen as he calls it, where many say it's actually very rare to see him in the Grand Province at all. This is a man who thinks with his blade rather than his brain, and has almost caused multiple civil wars throughout the Empire. This is a character that could easily be implemented as a playable legendary lord, which would not start within the lands of the Empire. He would still retain access to Nordland, but he himself would be somewhere else in the world, representing one of his many campaigns. Next we have Valmia von Rakov, Grand Prince of Ostland, Margrave of the Northern March, and the Hammer of the East. He is the Elector Count of the Grand Province of Ostland. The Elector Counts of Ostland live in the northeastern border of the Empire, beyond which lies the dangerous Troll Country and the Northern Wastes. It has always been a poor region where the constant threat of danger breeds a hardy race of people. The Elector Count of Ostland, Valmia von Rakov, like his father before him, has spent a lifetime fighting against Chaos Warbands, raiding Norse and marauding orcs, not to mention the occasional forays of bandits from Kislev. Even his own realm is not wholly safe, for the forests and mountains are full of renegades, beastmen, trolls, giants, and countless other foes. Valmir, like the other Elector Counts, is very competent in melee combat, but unlike the others, he's also very skilled in ranged combat too. Armed with the famed Dragon Bow of Ostland, which is a mighty bow of incredible range and damage capabilities, which was able to be fired multiple times in one round of combat, so it could be that this bow would have the multi-shot special rule should it ever be implemented. Next we have Wolfram Hertwig, Chancellor of the League of Ostermark, Prince of Bertsche, and the current ruler of the Grand Province of Ostermark. Crowned at a young age, he was infamously stubborn and proud, and he grew into a fussy man, renowned for his methodical approach to warfare. In his early years, soon after becoming Elector Count, he alone led his armies to stop an invading Orc incursion. While the Greenskins were eventually defeated, Ostermark's armies had taken such terrible losses that the Grand Province had to rely on aid from Ostland and Talib Eklund for the many years to come. This was at the fault of his youth and inexperience, but thankfully from then on he has learnt the error of his ways, and now does indeed heed counsel from his advisors. Ordinarily, he fights from the saddle of his war griffin Bloodfeather, and had a fairly unique runefang known as Troll Cleaver. Its enchantments rendered trolls and other foul regenerative foes unable to heal their wounds. Next we have Albedek Haupt Anderson, Grand Count of Stirland, Prince of Wurtbad, and Overlord of Sylvania. He is very proud of his province, and won't hesitate to let you know about it, for it is he and his men that keep the dead of Sylvania from overtaking the rest of the Empire. While Stirland itself is a relatively poor province, they've always been able to keep their own. Albedek would not hesitate to potentially start a civil war within the Empire. Thankfully, such events have been avoided in part of Karl Franz's wisdom. This character never really had that much lore, which is unfortunate, but it can be assumed should this character get implemented as a Lord Pack or FLC, it's more than likely that some halfling units would also join him, seeing as the moot is so closely associated with Stirland. Next we have Helmut Feuerbach, Grand Duke of Talib Eklund, Margrave of the East March, Beloved of Tal, and the Elector Count of the Grand Province of Talib Eklund. The Elector Count of Talib Eklund was notorious for his foul temper, and he garnered great ire from his Parliament of Nobles, the Merchants Guild, and the various temples which contribute to the running of Talibheim's governmental council. His commands sourced from capricious terms and whimsy, and he was noted for his particularly heavy-handed style of ruling. His poor judgment, combined with his irritating personality, resulted in a long list of people who would much rather see the Count disappear, lending credence to the rumours of a coup. Most likely because of his fiery temper, Helmut has been able to survive thus far, probably because if anyone were to fail to dispose of him, they would meet a very agonizing death. And lastly, we have Emmanuel von Leibwitz, Grand Countess of Wissenland, Countess of Knoll, and Duchess of Mason. Nobody really knows how she came into power. Some suggest that she may have seduced her way to becoming an Elector Countess. She is far more concerned with the luxuries of her status than with ruling her actual province. In fact, she was in negotiations with the Emperor to divorce Knoll from Wissenland completely, in exchange for granting Knoll an electoral vote and allowing Wissenland to retain its vote. She would make an extensive loan to the Emperor's coffers. All of her work to separate Knoll from Wissenland was because the Countess adores the city. She loved the culture, the pomp, the majesty, its history, and its deep coffers. Thankfully, this never got to happen, and the province of Wissenland stayed whole. Honestly, as far as I've seen, not many people are too interested in having this character actually be represented in Total War Warhammer. Instead, they look towards another Dark Lady of Knoll. And to be honest, it does make sense. Whereas the Dark Lady had much more of an active role, Emmanuel was more focused on vanity, and it's not like you can get too many interesting aspects from that character because of it. But these are all the missing Elector counts. Which do you want to see implemented into Total War Warhammer? And are there any special mechanics you'd like to see implemented with those characters? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various different links to social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using our special link and also using our special code, both of which are in the description below, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Ryan Bertsche for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to our patron Edward Huell for subscribing to us at our King level. Mate, you're super awesome. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.